Businesses are not only involved with illegal activity with clients, they are also often linked to human trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Women in these cases were here illegally.
Yeah, guys, I'm told some of these cases can be a little bit different than other human trafficking cases.
4:17 a.m. in Houston, Texas. The air inside the Golden Lotus Nail and Spa was thick with the stench of cheap acetone, stale perfume, and raw human terror. Without a single warning, the front doors exploded inward as flashbangs lit up the pink neon darkness like lightning. FBI and ICE tactical teams stormed the building, rifles raised, shouting,
"Ford Police Department, open the door! Open the door! Open it now!"
What they discovered wasn't a nail salon, it was a living nightmare. Dozens of terrified Chinese girls, some as young as 14 years old, were chained to massage beds and hidden behind false walls, their eyes filled with the kind of fear that breaks even the strongest men. These weren't workers. They were sex slaves beaten, drugged, and forced to service up to 20 men a day, sold like pieces of meat. And this was only one of 18 locations raided that night. In a single operation, federal agents shattered a billion-dollar child trafficking empire that stretched from the back alleys of Fujian, China, straight into the quiet suburbs of Texas. At the very center of this monstrous network was a high-ranking Chinese diplomat, Zhang Wei-ming, former deputy consul in Houston, who used his official diplomatic passport to traffic young girls across borders and launder millions of dollars through these seemingly innocent nail salons. This wasn't just another raid. This was the exposure of a devil hiding in plain sight. Today, we expose them together. It all began 3 months earlier with a single anonymous tip to the Houston FBI field office. A former employee of a popular nail salon chain claimed that young Chinese girls were being held against their will behind locked doors. At first, agents dismissed it as another routine labor complaint. But Special Agent Mark Thompson, a 17-year veteran of the FBI's Human Trafficking Task Force, decided to dig deeper. What started as a simple surveillance operation quickly turned into something far darker. Working alongside ICE agent Thomas, Thompson's team began monitoring a chain of 18 nail salons operating under the Golden Lotus brand across Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. On the surface, they looked completely legitimate, clean storefronts, glowing signs, and steady customers. But hidden security cameras installed by the owners captured something horrifying. Late-night thermal imaging revealed girls as young as 14 being moved like cargo between back rooms and hidden basements after closing hours. Agent Thomas, who speaks Mandarin fluently, intercepted coded WeChat messages that referred to the girls not by name, but by numbers and freshness dates. One message read, "New shipment arrived, age 13 to 15. Debt balance $65,000 each." Inside, a seemingly ordinary salon on Bel Air Boulevard, agents later confirmed the nightmare. False walls hid cramped living quarters where girls slept on thin mats surrounded by chemical fumes. They worked 18-hour shifts, forced to provide extra services that had nothing to do with manicures. Those who resisted were beaten or injected with sedatives. The youngest victim they identified early on was Lily, a 14-year-old girl smuggled from Fujian Province, China, who had been told she was coming to America for a better life and education. This wasn't random exploitation. It was a calculated, highly organized machine. And the deeper they looked, the clearer it became that someone with real power was protecting the entire operation. That someone with real power protecting the entire operation turned out to be Zhang Wei-ming himself, the former deputy consul at the Chinese consulate in Houston. Using his diplomatic passport as a shield, Zhang had built a perfectly engineered machine of human misery that treated teenage girls as disposable inventory. The system was ruthless in its simplicity. Recruiters in Fujian Province targeted desperate families with fake promises of American education and high-paying salon jobs. Once the girls arrived, their passports were seized and a crushing debt of $60,000 to $80,000 was slapped on them for travel and training fees. Interest compounded weekly. Escape was impossible. Inside the Golden Lotus network, control was absolute and sadistic. Each salon hid a secret basement level accessible only through a disguised floor panel behind the pedicure stations. There, girls were locked in windowless concrete cells, no larger than coffins, fitted with shock collars that delivered 200-volt jolts for any sign of resistance. Agents later recovered footage showing managers forcing girls to watch the live torture of anyone who tried to run. One 14-year-old was electrocuted until she convulsed on the floor, while the others were made to cheer. Pregnant victims faced forced abortions performed with dirty tools on a metal table in the back. The screams were recorded and sent to Zhang as proof of discipline. Every 4 to 6 weeks, the girls were rotated like cattle between Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and even as far as Austin. New tattoos of lotus flowers were burned into their skin to mark ownership. Those who became used up or fell ill simply disappeared. Forensic teams later found traces of human remains dissolved in acid barrels stored behind the supply rooms. The money flowed like clockwork. Every extra service was logged in encrypted ledgers and streamed live to wealthy buyers in China, who paid premium cryptocurrency for the ability to watch or even direct the abuse in real time. Zhang personally oversaw the operation from a luxury penthouse, hosting private parties where local officials were entertained with the youngest girls in exchange for protection. One recovered video showed him laughing while a 12-year-old was dragged away, bleeding. This wasn't street-level pimping. It was industrialized slavery run with corporate precision, complete with monthly performance quotas, penalty fines for low earnings, and replacement shipments arriving every 30 days through a smuggling corridor across the Mexican border that Zhang's diplomatic connections kept wide open. The deeper the agents dug, the more monstrous the picture became. Zhang wasn't just profiting. He was feeding an international network that supplied girls to other states and possibly even exported organs from those who could no longer work. But the most blood-chilling discovery still lay ahead, something so devastating that when the raid teams finally moved in, they knew they weren't just stopping a crime ring. They were trying to stop a devil who had already turned the American heartland into his personal hunting ground. On a humid pre-dawn morning in late April, more than 200 federal agents from the FBI, ICE, and Homeland Security launched the largest coordinated raid in Texas history. Codenamed Operation Crimson Lotus, the strike targeted 18 Golden Lotus nail and spa locations simultaneously across Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin. Precision timing was critical. Every team moved at exactly 4:17 a.m. to prevent any warning from reaching the network's command. Tactical units breached the storefronts with explosive charges and battering rams. SWAT operators in full-body armor swept through the brightly lit salons, clearing each room with military efficiency. Behind the pedicure chairs and massage tables, hidden floor panels were ripped open, exposing the secret basement levels that had remained invisible to customers for years. The stench of urine, bleach, and fear poured out as agents descended the narrow concrete stairs. What they encountered inside those underground chambers defied imagination. Row after row of steel-framed beds held dozens of emaciated girls, many still shackled by the wrists and ankles. Some were unconscious from sedatives, others curled into fetal positions, their bodies covered in fresh bruises and infected burns from shock collars. In one Houston location, agents discovered a makeshift medical room containing surgical tools, blood-stained sheets, and evidence of recent forced procedures. Acid barrels in the rear storage area contained partially dissolved human remains, confirming the network's brutal method of body disposal. As the teams secured the buildings, they located Zhang Weiming in a fortified back office at the flagship Bel Air Boulevard Salon. Surrounded by encrypted servers and multiple computer monitors still streaming live footage from hidden cameras, he attempted to destroy critical evidence. Agents seized hard drives containing terabytes of data, including customer lists, financial records, and direct communication logs with contacts in China. In total, the operation rescued 87 victims, 34 of whom were underage. The youngest was only 13 years old. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, fake passports, and crates of fentanyl-laced sedatives were recovered from hidden compartments. The raids also netted 47 high-level managers and coordinators, all Chinese nationals operating under Zhang's command structure. The scale of the takedown sent shockwaves through federal command centers. Encrypted servers seized that night revealed the network had generated over $180 million in revenue in the past 36 months alone. Live feeds had been beamed directly to private clients across Asia, turning American suburbs into a pay-per-view nightmare. By sunrise, the once bustling salons stood silent, their neon signs dark and doors sealed with federal tape. What had masqueraded as legitimate businesses for years now lay fully exposed as one of the most sophisticated child trafficking enterprises ever dismantled on U.S. soil. Yet even as the first wave of arrests was processed, investigators understood this was only the visible surface of a much deeper operation. The true extent of the horror and the powerful figures still protecting it would only become clear in the days that followed. In the days following the coordinated raids, the full magnitude of the operation finally came into view. Federal authorities arrested 212 individuals, nearly all Chinese nationals connected to the Golden Lotus network. 47 high-level managers and coordinators faced immediate charges, while Jiang Weiming, the former deputy consul, sat at the center of the largest child trafficking case ever prosecuted in Texas history. Forensic teams spent weeks cataloging evidence. They recovered more than $3.2 million in cash, encrypted hard drives containing client lists from across Asia and the United States, and detailed ledgers showing monthly revenues exceeding $400,000 per salon. The financial trail exposed a sophisticated laundering system that funneled profits through shell companies in California, New York, and Vancouver before disappearing into accounts linked to diplomatic channels in Beijing. The most disturbing revelations came from Jiang's personal devices. Investigators uncovered direct communication with senior officials inside China's consulate network, proving the trafficking ring operated with high-level diplomatic protection. Jiang had personally approved the transport of over 600 girls into the United States over 4 years, using official courier routes and consular vehicles to bypass normal border security. Even more shocking, the data showed the network maintained active operations in at least 11 other states, with similar nail salon fronts in Florida, Georgia, and Illinois still running undetected. Medical examinations of the rescued victims painted a devastating picture. 85 girls received emergency care, 32 of them minors between 12 and 16 years old. Many suffered from severe malnutrition, repeated sexual trauma, untreated STDs, and long-term psychological damage. Several required immediate surgery due to internal injuries from prolonged abuse. DNA evidence later confirmed that remains found in acid barrels at 2 locations belonged to at least 9 victims who had been eliminated when they could no longer generate profit. Federal prosecutors charged Jiang Weiming under RICO statutes, sex trafficking of minors, and conspiracy to commit murder. If convicted, he faces multiple life sentences without parole. The case also triggered an international diplomatic crisis, with the U.S. State Department demanding full cooperation from Beijing, cooperation that has so far been met with silence. Yet, even as authorities celebrated the largest single-day rescue in Texas anti-trafficking history, classified briefings revealed a far darker truth. The Golden Lotus network was only one branch of a much larger web, and somewhere, the remaining architects were already rebuilding. The monster had been wounded, but it was still very much alive. In the weeks after the raids, the human cost finally stepped out of the shadows. The 85 rescued victims began their long journey back to life inside secure safe houses across Texas. Many had not seen daylight for months. Their bodies told stories that no official report could fully capture. Deep scars from repeated beatings, track marks from forced sedation, and haunted eyes that still darted toward every door as if expecting handlers to return. 14-year-old Lily, the girl first identified during early surveillance, weighed only 78 pounds when freed. Doctors discovered she had been kept in near constant darkness for over 11 months, her body so weakened that she could barely walk when carried out. Another survivor, a 15-year-old from rural Fujian, had been rotated through 9 different salons in under 2 years. She had learned only 3 English words during her ordeal: please, hurt, and no. Psychological evaluations revealed almost every rescued girl suffered from complex PTSD, so severe that many still woke up screaming at night, begging not to be sent back to the basement. Some had been forced to undergo multiple abortions under crude conditions, leaving permanent physical damage. One girl, only 13, had been deliberately infected with diseases as punishment for slow earnings and now required lifelong medication. Behind the statistics lay an even darker pattern. Several victims described secret selection nights when wealthy clients from overseas would visit through private entrances and choose girls like products in a catalog. Others spoke of girls who simply vanished after becoming pregnant or falling ill, never to be seen again. The network had operated with such ruthless efficiency that death had become just another line item in their ledgers. What investigators uncovered in the final phase of the probe sent shockwaves through federal agencies. The Golden Lotus operation was not an isolated criminal enterprise. Financial records and encrypted communications proved it formed a single branch of a vast transnational syndicate with active cells in more than 14 states. Similar nail salon and massage front businesses continued operating quietly in California, Florida, New York, and Illinois, protected by the same diplomatic channels that once shielded Jiang Weiming. Intelligence analysts now believe these networks generate well over $1 billion annually, with profits flowing back to powerful interests in East Asia. Even after the Texas raids, new recruitment drives have already begun in China, using updated routes through Central America to replace the girls who were lost. The infrastructure, fake passports, underground transport systems, and corrupt local facilitators remains largely intact. This case has forced American authorities to confront an uncomfortable reality. Some of these operations enjoy silent tolerance or even indirect protection from elements within diplomatic missions operating on U.S. soil. The wounds inflicted on these communities run deeper than any single raid can heal. The message is clear and urgent. These horrors are not hidden in distant war zones or dark alleys. They hide behind bright storefront signs in suburban shopping centers, inside strip malls where parents take their children for weekend treats, and behind the everyday smiles of seemingly normal businesses. The next Golden Lotus could be operating right now on your street, in your city, closer than you ever imagined. Every parent, every neighbor, and every citizen must stay vigilant. Look closer at businesses that always seem busy, yet never advertise properly. Notice patterns of young foreign workers who rarely leave the premises. Report anything suspicious without hesitation. The survival of future victims may depend on your willingness to see what others choose to ignore. The fight against this modern form of slavery is far from over. One network has been shattered, but the beast that created it still breathes in the shadows, waiting for society to look away again. Stay aware, stay angry, and never stop watching.